Hello and welcome back to Tricolor Gaming with me, Fletcher. So we finally have the DLC trailer for the next JWE2 DLC, the Park Managers Collection Pack. And all of those people who were convinced that the next pack was going to be Cenozoic were wrong. And I wish I had bet money on it because I wasn't convinced at the time it was a Cenozoic pack. But yeah, we've finally got a trailer and there's some interesting animals in here. Some that I think are going to make the fan base very happy. And we've had a confirmation it's coming with a free update as well, which is all good. As per normal, I'm going to look over the trailer first. We'll go through the trailer together. We'll go through the screenshots we have together, and then we'll go through the additional information from the forum. And naturally, all this is unscripted, so it might be a little loose here and there, but let's get to it. So first in the trailer, we do get to see the head of what I initially thought, and I think a lot of people are going to initially think is Hapsicopteryx, but actually it is not. It's a different type of Azdarchid pterosaur called Thanatos Dracon. It comes from Argentina from the late Cretaceous period and is actually quite a recent discovery. It was first discovered in 2018. It has a wingspan of about 9 meters fully grown, estimated. But yeah, so it's not Hapsicopteryx, but I have to say just off this beginning of this video, I absolutely adore the colors on the face and the crest. However, immediately after, we had another interesting animal which I didn't know what it was. I had no idea what this could be because to me it just looked like a Coelophysis. But obviously we've already got that in game. But actually this is Fredjisaurus. Now Fredjisaurus is one of those novel canon species that was supposed to be in the original Jurassic Park and we haven't ever seen it in a game. So it's nice to see it being brought to this pack. We don't know much about the colorations yet. I have to say the green one in this trailer shot looks pretty boring, but the one closest to the camera looks like it has almost a sort of python-esque marbling to it. So I can imagine the patterns are going to look pretty good, but let's get to the one that everybody is going to be excited for, Megalodon. And I actually think they've done a decent job with Megalodon, and I know everyone is going to kind of die of surprise there. I actually think they've done a decent job, and when we look at the screenshots, I'll explain why more. But immediately, we also see this kelp that's going to come to the game. Now, looking at the kelp in the trailer, I don't think it's going to be as good as the modded kelp I've got. For one main reason, the kelp looks like it's completely static. And I have to point out that the modded kelp that I use by Max Veers, I believe does actually move in the water. If this kelp is 100% static, I think it's gonna slightly break the illusion of this kelp slightly. But it is nice to have the kelp. We'll talk more about the kelp in a minute because we get more information about that in the forum post. Let's continue with the trailer video. Next up, Microceratus. So we did all wonder if it was ever going to come to the game, being one of the few species from Dominion that we were missing, and it looks like it is coming with this particular pack. I have to say that the one we see in the trailer with this fluorescent purple speckled blue frill is actually glorious. I absolutely adore this particular skin pattern. I would bet that the coloration is one of the patterns and not like a body color. Yeah, I think it looks absolutely glorious. And then we have another shot of the Thanatos Dracon attacking a goat and grabbing it with its hind legs and flying off with it. So does this mean we're going to it's going to be, you know, something that needs goats to feed from? And also, how is it going to feed from that? Is it going to like eat it on the wing or something like that? I think it would be interesting to see how the Thanatos Dracon works. And that's all we get in this Park Managers Collection Pack. So let's move on to the screenshots and let's begin with, I think, the one that everyone is most looking forward to, the Megalodon. Now, if there's 2 screenshots of Megalodon, the first one, which was on their forum, shows it eating from the shark feeder, so we know that it's going to be eating from the shark feeder, and it has this sort of grey body with a sort of brown or tan tinge. I've seen this on other animals and it's usually the great sandy desert coloration, so that's what I'm going to guess is that particular coloration. And it doesn't look like there's a pattern, there's no spots or anything here. Now if we go to the version, so Steam on their page for this DLC has an alternative picture which shows the whole animal much better and does show it having spots. So I believe the spots and these very subtle stripes are going to be part of the pattern for the animal. I quite like this. So when I did my 5 things, you know, how they could bring the Megalodon into the game in a way that I liked was to give it a pattern with something like a whale shark or a leopard shark. And I actually think this is kind of a nice in the middle point between them. But something I do want to point out is that they have also done the other thing that I suggested, which is to not make it look massively like a great white shark. We do have various elements here, many of which I suggested in that video. We have the more realistic, very long body shape, which is a more scientifically accurate depiction of the animal. We have the very long, or not very long, but definitely longer upper tail fluke, similar to a thresher shark, which is something that I suggested. And the main dorsal fin, you can see, also just has a slight cutout under it. It's quite a subtle design feature, but it does work. Now we also have, you know, 2 additional fins, and we have another 2 fins underneath the body. And I have to say the forward fins are actually very long as well, and again they do remind me of some of the other sharks that we were thinking of that could be used as design inspiration. So overall, I'm happy with the Megalodon. I think it's a good model, I think it's a good design, and I'm so glad it's not just a great white shark. Next, let's have a look at the Thanatos Dracon. So we have this screenshot of them eating from the fish feeder. So I suppose that does confirm that perhaps their primary diet is going to be the fish feeders like most of the pterosaurs. We have 2 different skins here, and I think they have the same pattern. So we have a sort of a green and yellow skin, which is probably going to be something like Chaplin Valley based on the other animals we have in game. And we have this sort of dark reddish cream skin, which I'm going to guess is potentially one of the desert versions that we have in game. Because again, there are dinosaurs with similar colorations with that. But it looks like they've both got the same pattern. Based on the colors of the wings, it looks like they've got this sort of, well, maybe sort of dark, sort of a light brown moving into yellow splotches on the wings. Based on the size, it's not going to be a massive Asdarchid, so at least it's going to work in owl in aviaries a lot better than say Quetzalcoatlus does. I mean, I am very surprised that it's not Hapsiogopteryx, but I suppose in this case, Thanatos Dracon being smaller than say Quetz or Heps, I actually think it's going to work better, so I'm kind of good with it being Thanatos Dracon, and I think it has a really cool sounding name as well. Next up, Segisaurus, and with this screenshot again we have that pattern on display, the sort of splotchy marbled pattern that they do tend to give a lot of animals. Overall, there's not much that's interesting about Segisaurus. It's kind of, I think it's going to end up a bit too much like Coelophysis, so its patterns and colors are going to be the thing that saves it as a species in game, or potentially animations. Yeah, I don't have much to say about Segisaurus if I'm honest. And we have Microceratus, and in this screenshot we've got 3 very distinct colors and 1 very distinct pattern on display. We have to the far left, we have a sort of a lime green. Now that's normally, sometimes it is the sort of mangrove forest coloration, sometimes it's Salar del Huasco coloration. In the center, it looks like we have a sort of purplish blue-green skin, which is normally something like the Amazon rainforest. And then to the far right, we have what looks like sort of a generic brown skin, which is potentially something like Limpopo River, Yukon River, something like that. The pattern looks to be the same. It looks like the frill is going to be part of the pattern color, so you've got this bright pink frill, and then the pattern also seems to add striping to the main body, so we have brown striping and a pink frill on this particular pattern. And yeah, again, think, like all of the small species in game, there's going to be some problems with using them because, you know, how easy is it going to be actually to see these animals? But I'm glad that Microceratus has finally come, and all of the Dominion fans who want Microceratus finally have it. Now, let's talk about the other 3 things coming. So the forum post states that we're also going to get a little ET-T-Rex skin. So the little ET-T-Rex skin is now going to become a variant, which I think is a strange choice. I think there were other animals that we would have liked the variants of, like the Triceratops, for example, or the Dominion Parasaurolophuses, for example. But, you know, a new variant is nice enough. I'll be curious to see what that's going to look like with the other colours. And then we've got a confirmation that we've got free content with this. So we're getting kelp plants, and it does confirm it's not going to be a foliage brush. And I honestly didn't think it was going to be a foliage brush, because that's just not how the lagoons are working at the moment. We're going to have 3 new kelp plant decorations. Now, a big thing for me is how these look. Once we do have this update, I am going to compare these kelp with the modded kelp that I have, because are we going to have sort of a variety of heights? Are we going to have like a small clump and a large clump? How easy is it going to be to make nice looking kelp layouts with this? And like I said, they did look 100% static in the water, which did kind of look a bit strange. Whereas again, the modded kelp I'm using, it moves in the water, which is a clear advantage. And the other thing, and I know Evo is going to be really happy about this, so a version of the lagoon light is coming to the free update that can be built on land to illuminate the parks. So finally, people like Evo who don't want a mod can at last have lighting on the ground in their parks. And we know that this is all coming out on Thursday the 16th of May, so just before the end of this week. So what do I think in general? Let me go through the positives. Okay, it's good. The Megalodon is not going to look just like a great white shark done cheaply. It looks like they put some thought and effort and time into making it look good. So good on them for that. The bringing of 2 canon species, finally, one from the novel, one from the film that we were missing. It's going to make the people who care about canonicity happy, so that's good for them. The addition of a smaller Asdarkid that we can use in the aviaries instead of Quetzalcoatlus, I'm reasonably happy with that. It looks like all of these animals are going to have good looking skins, which is really important to me. No knowledge about animations yet, we'll have to wait for more information. It's coming with a free update. Admittedly, the free update is only bringing a couple of things, but there is a free update there, which is better than the hybrid pack having no free update at all. And at the same time, I'm glad that this is not a Cenozoic era pack. As I stand by, I don't think the game would fit Cenozoic animals as it stands now. We don't have Cenozoic style buildings or decorations or fencing or anything like that. And, you know, 3 Cenozoic land animals and a Cenozoic shark isn't really a very good selection of Cenozoic animals. So I'm happy that this is not a Cenozoic pack. I think it works better like this. Not really a negative, but just an observation. You know, finally getting kelp, finally getting a light that we can have on land. Only two things in the free update. Finally getting Microceratus. I think this does feel, and even the name of the pack, the Park Managers Collection pack, it has the feeling of an end pack. Just that title, the Park Managers Collection. You know, all of the other packs are generally named after a sort of a time period predominantly, or something, you know, Cretaceous predators or feathered species. This, the Park Managers Collection, it's like an end of the run, as it were. That's the sort of feeling I get from this. So I think potentially this is the last DLC pack. Given the information that potentially another game is in the works as well, it would make sense. But yeah, overall, I'm alright with this particular pack. I have no major concerns. The only concern I really have is the kelp and whether it's gonna be a very static, very boring looking thing compared to the modded kelp that I'm already using. That's predominantly the only major issue I have with this particular pack. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think, especially about the look of the Megalodon, because I think that's going to be what people are going to be discussing most about this particular pack. Also, what do you think about the kelp and how it looks? I'm curious to know what you guys think about that. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new to the channel to be part of any further news and updates about this particular pack, and also to get my experience when it does release on Thursday, when I do the normal stream that I do on release dates. But until then, stay safe and goodbye.